that they are pursued and they're finding it harder to launch rockets towards Israel. Indeed, over the last 2 weeks, we've seen a decline in the amount of rockets that they've been successfully able to fire at Israel across the country. But they still have that capability. Every time we're going into a new courtyard of a mosque and finding rocket launchers there, or in the playground of a school and finding rocket launchers there. So we are pursuing them specifically in the north, and it is making it more difficult for them to launch rockets at us. I'd be very, very cautious in trying to come to some sort of conclusion based on this. I don't suspect that they have a very good grasp of what's going on above ground at the moment from Hamas' perspective. We understand that their leadership is in a state of disarray with that regard, and limited control over their forces at this time.
Defence Force spokesperson, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Do you have any understanding of what is happening, what's holding up this deal? I know you're not the government, you're the Israeli Defence Force, but do you have any idea of why this piece of paper might not have been signed yet?
I think, well, just to relate to what Catherine was saying, I absolutely agree there's very little trust. And why would there be trust between a demonic organization and a country that is trying to save lives? Hamas has created this situation, and it seems that there is another way that they are doing in order to aggravate the situation. It's heart-wrenching. The situation on the ground, as far as we're concerned, obviously, as the IDF, is that we're continuing to move forward to pursue Hamas wherever they are, engaging them, revealing the extent of their presence in the Shifa hospital, as we did yesterday. And this is from our perspective, of course, as the military, we know how to hold the line if we get the instruction from the government, when to do so, and we will.
So you say that they are aggravating the situation. Is your understanding or your suspicion that they are just delaying things to make things more difficult for people?
I don't want to really guess, and I don't want to be not 100% with what I understand of the situation. Of course, it wouldn't be beyond Hamas to do so. This is an organization that abducts 9-month-old babies. Why wouldn't they just try and make some more out of it? Again, we have to wait and see exactly from our perspective what the government will instruct us to do and the timetable that they will set out. And of course, the IDF will be prepared in order to implement the hold of our fire, a operational pause. But the two things, the two goals of this war go hand in hand: the release of all of the hostages, every last one of them, and the dismantling and destroying of Hamas as a governing authority, an entity that has utilized the powers of government to attack and murder and massacre Israelis in their bedrooms and abduct others. So we need to, those two goals, they go hand in hand, and we are operating, and the operational pause was in order to alleviate and at least bring some of those hostages home.
We've spoken to a couple of people this morning in Israel, including one relative of 3 hostages, actually. She made the point that the rocket fire from Hamas or from Gaza has lessened or almost disappeared over the last 24 hours, presumably in preparation for this pause. But in terms of your action, you haven't let up at all, or have you?
I would be very cautious in jumping to a conclusion that it's based on an instruction that they gave. I think that they are pursued and they're finding it harder to launch rockets towards Israel. Indeed, over the last 2 weeks, we've seen a decline in the amount of rockets that they've been successfully able to fire at Israel across the country. But they still have that capability. Every time we're going into a new courtyard of a mosque and finding rocket launchers there, or in the playground of a school and finding rocket launchers there. So we are pursuing them specifically in the north, and it is making it more difficult for them to launch rockets at us. I'd be very, very cautious in trying to come to some sort of conclusion based on this. I don't suspect that they have a very good grasp of what's going on above ground at the moment from Hamas' perspective. We understand that their leadership is in a state of disarray with that regard, and limited control over their forces at this time. But our forces are indeed, as you pointed out, very moving forward, pursuing Hamas, engaging, destroying tunnels. Over 400 tunnels have been destroyed. Tunnels and tunnel access points have been destroyed in the last 6.5 weeks. And as we move forward, we'll continue to pursue them. This is precisely our goal. That's what we're doing day by day, and engaging Hamas wherever they are.
This the disarray that you talk about between Hamas operatives and and the kind of the people at the top is clearly worrying in terms of holding this pause, this 4-day pause when it happens. Because if there is some kind of lack of communication or whatever it might be, and one rocket is fired from Hamas into Israel, is one rocket enough to break that pause from the IDF's point of view?
I think it's even much more serious than that, because we've very bad experiences with Hamas and ceasefires. Every time there was a ceasefire in 2014, every time they came out, they attacked us. They abducted Lieutenant Hadar Goldin during a ceasefire, killing and abducting him into Gaza. So we need to be, whenever that operational pause comes, we need to be very strong in our defenses. We need to be prepared for that eventuality. And it might not even be out of a discussion or a decision based on a Hamas central decision, but it might be a localized Hamas leader that has either no regard for the leadership of Hamas or has an instruction to do so. So we need to be very, very cautious as to come to any conclusions with regard to an organization that will butcher babies in their bedrooms and any sort of commitment that they have to life. I think the only thing that is pushing them towards an operational pause and a prisoner exchange is actually the pressure that Israel is putting on this organization day to day. And as we move forward, the pressure is increasing.
So does that mean if there was one rocket that the deal would be off?
I don't want we'd have to see exactly what happens, but I don't think that is a fair question. If they agree to a ceasefire to halt their fire, they need to stop it. And if they don't, then they're jeopardizing the advance of the deal. They have interest, the amount of prisoners, and as Stig rightly pointed out, people that have been tried and found guilty in a court for their actions, for terrorist activities of different levels, but they have an interest that they come home to. So there is a distinct interest that they indeed are abide by the ceasefire. So we'll have to see. Of course, if they jeopardize that, then the IDF will continue to pursue. And as Prime Minister Netanyahu said yesterday, the war is going to continue. We're not, just because there's a reality on the ground, we intend in achieving both goals of bringing home all the hostages and dismantling and destroying Hamas as a governing authority.
Okay, Lieutenant Colonel Peter Lerner, thank you. He's from the Israel Defense Force.